You don't strike us, and we look at you from a distance as being a very emotional kind of person, but you still get emotional about that day?
Yeah, I do. It's taken some time to set in. You're right. You know, in the moment, I try and stay as much as I can in the reality of things that are going on. I tend not to get carried away, too high, too low, and try and stay in the reality. And for me personally, it helps my game. It helps my batting, bowling, but overall as a captain, it helps me make clear-cut decisions. And I think if that can rub off on other players at the time, I think that's a huge positive. So I use that as a tool or mechanism to keep me calm.
I thought the genesis of 2019 actually lay in Australia in 2015. I was there watching that tournament. I was intrigued by the way England were playing because the world had sort of moved on. It was almost like a T20ization of 50-over cricket. And yet England were almost in a time warp. And I was very curious to know, was it because England just didn't prioritize white ball cricket at that time? Was it just the approach? Was it the kind of players available? And that was the best they could do. What was it about 2015? Because I believe that laid the platform. Almost like England had to lose 2015 to achieve 2019.
Yeah, I actually totally agree with you. I think 2015 was the cornerstone of the start of our success. It really was the trigger to a lot of things happening in English cricket. And one of the most important things, I think, on our journey was the appointment of Andrew Strauss. He was appointed straight after the 2015 World Cup. He had watched everything that had gone on in the 2 years leading into the 2015 and wasn't surprised by the way that we played and the outcome of that World Cup. It was humiliating in the way that we played, but in the fashion that we were knocked out was humiliating. So for him coming in such a pivotal role, making big clear-cut decisions in the way that he wanted white ball to move forward and for the priorities to sit alongside each other. So the two priorities were 50-over cricket and test match cricket, and they would sit alongside each other, which has never happened before in English cricket. So for him to come in and say that gave me a boost, both keeping me on as captain, but also giving a blank sheet of paper and saying, right, what do we need to do to bridge the gap between where we are now in 2015 and being competitive in 2019 World Cup? Because he saw that as a huge opportunity for us to bring cricket back to England.
To draw a corporate parallel, it was almost as if pink slips were being handed out, like they are in this pandemic. Pink slips are being handed out. That's it. Thank you very much. Good knowing you. And you survived. Was there any talk of why you survived? What was it that Andrew Strauss saw? Did he see you as a modern torchbearer of white ball cricket to take you through? What were the first conversations when he called you up and said, there's so many pink slips, but you're not among them?
Yeah, I ask him all the time because I feel lucky to be kept on, in truth. And he thought for a long time about, the top four sides in that 2015 World Cup all played an aggressive brand of cricket. And I played under Strauss when he was captain, and I played with him at Middlesex. And sort of when I first came into the international scene, that was the way I played. Naturally, I played quite an aggressive brand of cricket, and he thought that I could embody that as good as anybody. So to go out and lead the side, and if I could lead from the front, that would have quite a big impact. So that was his reason for keeping me on.
And what was the first document that you wrote, if at all? I mean, writing is a figurative way. You might have written it in your head, whatever. What was the first document you wrote? Because the side that took the field for the first game after 2015 was literally played under the same banner, but was a different team.
Yeah, it was a different team. I think the biggest thing for us is taking away any sort of stigma around taking risks. So we had to bat deep. We had to find a way of moving from an average first innings score of 270 to the rest of the world of 315. And that was only going to get higher and higher as we moved through the 4 years. So trying to instill the mindset with a young group of players who naturally their default game was to be aggressive, was that you taking risk on here is going to be really good fun and we were going to have a great time along this journey, but you're not the consequence of you not performing isn't going to be you're going to be dropped after 5 games. You're going to be given an ample amount of time to prove yourself and replicate what you're doing in county cricket on the international stage. And I don't think anybody thought within the group, when we sat down and planned and selected the group of players that we did, that there'd be such a quick turnaround. In that first game that we played against New Zealand in 2015, we scored 400, which it was just remarkable. And if there was ever a template that we were looking for to have a benchmark against, I mean, it was the first game that we played. So it was an amazing start.